Orange, orange, orange.
Alright guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are doing a speed build in Strangerville. I don't know about you guys, but I am loving the Strangerville pack. I think partially part of it is I had just been missing the story aspect that was introduced in some of the past Sims games where they had like those Sims mysteries that were, let's be let's be real, they were kind of lame, but I always thought they were fun. And on top of that, I just love like that American Gothic revival style. I mean, I just love Gothic revival and also Gothic in general. So when we got these like kind of Victorian windows and more like Victorian style build mode items, I know some people were like a little confused by it. But when you think about also like kind of that like that painting American Gothic, like that's very kind of like southern, you know? So like to me, like it makes sense with what they're going for in this aesthetic, but I also understand like why it might seem weird. But also, like I said, they literally, I love Victorian homes. Most of my builds are Victorian homes, so I literally like was like, this is everything what I want in a pack. Aliens, mystery, American Gothic. So so yeah, I think with one of the things I love though about like kind of that like those Victorian buildings are all these very, it's like it's very compared to some other styles of architecture. It's very not bad. It's like very unbalanced, which is a really big thing about Gothic and then Gothic revival and then other styles inspired by Gothic, kind of like that Baroque style also. I also just love the like towers in it. It's very elegant, very opulent. The Victorian style specifically, also in the United States, but kind of also in other parts of Europe also. But we see this mostly in America, is that it kind of becomes this style that's really picked up by the newer rich, the nouveau riche, and it was kind of like their way to impose and let everyone like impose their wealth and let everyone know that they're wealthy, and on top of that that they're like kind of the new and upcoming wealth, because generally like the older wealth historically, even though that they do live and build bigger mansions, a lot of older rich families got their wealth by not just, good business, good investing. They also got it though just by smart spending and saving. So like things like the Victorian style is so over the top and so opulent. They it's literally like the epitome of the new rich. And I've always loved, because you see this also again and again throughout history. So I just love it. I just, whenever we see anything like this in history, me being a history nerd, I was an art history major in college. I am just like, perfection. So here, what I'm doing in the build right now is I had been looking at a lot of kind of like Victorian buildings on Google, and also there's actually a lot of Victorian buildings in my neighborhood. Sadly, I don't live in one of them, but it does not stop me from just staring. I was trying to build kind of like, I see a lot of them, especially where I live, where they have like porches that go up right next to roof sections. So that's what I'm kind of doing here. And I mess around with it, trying different things before I really get it to a place that I'm happy with. Using those half walls that they're always boasting about in the loading screens. Another thing, though, I just, love about the Victorian style and like kind of just like Gothic in general is that it now has kind of this like dark connotation. It's seen as creepy, which like it never was originally when it was first created. And I just think it's really funny, like especially like Gothic architecture, Gothic cathedrals from the medieval period. We think of them as creepy and dark, and that's something that even like as soon as like when the Renaissance kind of rolled around was kind of like the general census of it. But and it's so funny because that was not the intention, but that just goes to show you how aesthetics over time as they change, just like their meanings and meanings of old styles has changed. As you see there in the build, I've been playing with half walls and the fencing tool to try to create that little area there, because yeah, and it's odd trying to create like a roof right next to like a porch, especially in the Sims build mode, which I love the Sims 4 build mode. I think it's the best in the series. Weird actually opinion. I know a lot of people have mixed and strong feelings when it comes to The Sims 4, especially in its relation with Sims 3. But to say something a little controversial, I prefer The Sims 4 over The Sims 3, and I think mostly just because when I was playing The Sims 3, I had a really not great computer, and it just could not run it most of the time to the point where I barely played it. And then I had kind of like fallen out of The Sims for a while. And then I started playing The Sims Mobile randomly. And then I decided that I was going to look into getting The Sims 4. And I just heard that, but compared to The Sims 3, it was just a lot like smoother on computers. Now I have like a gaming laptop, which I actually got a few, last month. But when I first started playing The Sims 4, I was playing on like a really shitty PC. And also I was like surprised because I was like, whoa, this like runs and doesn't run like terribly. And I know like some people like they, I don't know, I think a good part, like big reason I don't have that love for The Sims 3 is just I didn't play The Sims 3 as much as I wanted, to the point where like I don't I really have very little attachment to The Sims 3, and simply just because I couldn't play it. And like now that I have a better computer, I could play it, but I'm kind of like I love The Sims 4 so much now that can't even. And also like I think of it in comparison to things like build mode and create a sim, and I just don't think I could go back to The Sims 3 and actually do those aspects of the game without like screaming. Because The Sims 4 is revolutionary in that aspect. There's still things that they can improve on, but I think everything like should always have room to evolve and change. Which I know not everyone feels the same way. We're gonna get into it like not relatively soon, but in a little bit. The floor plan, and the floor plan here was actually really hard for this build, and I think it's because I was so busy on the outside that I wasn't even remotely thinking of what it might look like on the inside, and I actually changed it around a lot. But I think that's also like part of the fun in building in The Sims 4, or in The Sims in general, is how quickly things can change. I love here where you see I'm working on this little tower part. I'm gonna change it in a little bit just so it's a little it's not going to change the size too much, but I want to make the entrance there a little bit bigger because I was thinking that's like a little reading nook. Yeah, so sorry about that. My computer just did something weird. But yeah, so you see here I'm changing it. I'm having it become a little bit more like boxy, or I guess not boxy, but yeah, it boxes out. Is that a real term? I went to art school. I know literally no architecture terms. Also, despite like really loving and taking so many classes on just medieval and Gothic architecture, which is so funny. I remember my first introduction to it was in a class called Medieval Castles and Cathedrals. And everyone went into that class because they wanted to learn about medieval castles, which I hate to burst anyone's bubble, is such a small aspect of the medieval period. Also, like, so many of them don't exist anymore, or if they do, they're in just such, especially not the ones from the early medieval period. And like I was the only one in that class who was like, I'm excited to learn about Gothic architecture. And I was taking it with a professor who is fairly well known for her work on medieval, specifically Gothic architecture and stained glass. So it's so funny because everyone else was like, I want to learn about castles. And I'm like, when do we learn about those massive, horrendous things called Gothic cathedrals? Because I'm here for that, sis. Up here, especially on the second floor, I had so much trouble with the floor plan because I wanted the top tower to be accessible. And you're gonna see me messing around with a lot. And spoiler, I just don't get it to work, and the tower actually becomes inaccessible on the top part here. And part of it was aesthetic. Like I couldn't get the stairs to go somewhere, and while making, and I had this room in mind where I wanted the, like, I guess like the master suite, you could call it, to have accessibility to that huge deck, because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to give them a master bathroom. So I was like, okay, the next thing to do is just give them this massive porch to themselves. But then the way it was built, like, this is like just like another thing. Like, if The Sims in general just had different like maybe a spiral staircase, or like a staircase with multiple levels that, like, like take angles and turn, this could have worked. But also, if I just planned better, this could have probably also worked better. But I ultimately decided no. Also, here you see I'm changing the siding on kind of parts of the roof here. And mostly that was just because I wanted, when with Gothic, and specifically the new Gothic and Victorian homes, there's such an over the top and opulence for just the sake of aesthetic, which is once again one of the things I love about the Victorian style. And I also get that some things people hate about it, and I can respect that. You're also, so here you see I'm moving the staircase, and I'm making this so that the dining room and the kitchen can be bigger, and just kind of playing around. And you see here, once again, I'm trying to get that tower to work, because for the longest time in this build, I could not accept it. And then the stairs ended up going back where they were originally. That window there is going to change. Like, this build, like, see here, I go switching it with these, which I love. Once again, these are the most, like, these are the Gothic windows I wish had been in the game from the beginning. Because when I have, if you've check out my page, I have it's like Gothic cathedral I made. And my biggest complaint at the time was that The Sims didn't have arched windows. But now we do. And pretty much I'm like the happiest simmer out there. As you see here, I'm actually trying to break it up into 3 bedrooms with 1 bathroom. Which is funny to think that like this massive house would only have 3 bedrooms. But partially that was because I wanted everyone to have a fairly big bedroom. And then on top of that, I wonder if I had worked out the floor plan better, then maybe that wouldn't have been an issue, but you know. So I'm actually going to be skipping a lot of the furnishing, and I'll have some pictures at the end. And that's just because this video is already like at 15 minutes, and the furnishing on top of that like is another 15 minutes. So, and we ain't here for that, sis. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like what you see, as well as check my account out. This is up for download on the gallery, the Sims gallery. All right, thank you, and see you next time.